Imran Khan at home in Lahore only a few weeks ago at his nephew's birthday party. Despite his retirement from world-class cricket, he remains a superstar. Imran has challenged the complacency of Pakistan's ruling elite, and despite his aloofness from official politics, has become an important player in the country's political life. Marriage at this stage was an abstraction, or so it would have seemed.
For 10 years, people have been asking me in Pakistan to get married, and such an obsession with it. So, yes, I said, look, after the hospital is completed, I will get married. Obviously, I would like to marry a Muslim. And what nationality, race, color, for me doesn't matter, because in Islam, there is no such thing as race or nationalism, or, these are just imposed by culture on us. But Islam gives us freedom. I mean, I could, as a Muslim, marry a Christian or a Jew either, but I would much rather marry someone of my faith, only because I think you have a much greater chance of making it a success if two people's values, ideas, ideology are the same, and you're going in the same direction in life, and you're growing at the same pace.
Then Imran astounded everyone by marrying Jemima, the daughter of billionaire James Goldsmith. Press reaction in Britain was frenzied. Had the born-again Muslim abandoned his principles?
It would have been much easier for me to marry a Pakistani girl. But life doesn't go as we plan. The plan that prevails is of the Almighty. And so here I am, marrying a girl who is from a completely different background, but shares my vision. Much more, she shares my vision, my aspirations, my values. And so that's why I'm married to her.
In Lahore, he is the man who promised to build a cancer hospital and delivered. Ordinary people greeted the news of his marriage with relative calm.
इमरान खान हमारा हीरो है, बहुत अच्छा इंसान है। सबसे पहले उन्होंने अस्पताल बनाया, बहुत अच्छी बात है। तो शादी वो जहाँ मर्जी करे, उसके दिल की मर्जी है।
वो अच्छा है जी, उन्होंने शादी की थी, अच्छा बिल्कुल सही गल है। साडे मुल्क जी नहीं, कोई इतराज नहीं जी,
बल्कि अच्छी बात है कि तल्लुकात ही बढ़ेंगे हर एक दूसरे के साथ।
नहीं मगर करदा भी होगा, अपने मतलब वास्ते कर रहेगा, करोड़पति औरत है, करके कुछ और इजाफा हो जाएगा अस्पताल ते मेरी दौलत ही होर की उन्हें करना है। मतलब सीधी गल है, सारे अमीर आदमियों को बहुत चीड़े।
मुल्क तो बाहर लोग यही कहते हैं, जो लो जो उन्होंने बड़े अमीरां दी कुड़ी नाल शादी कर ली, वो कल ओहदा सहुरा है, उन्होंने पैसे ला के तो उन्होंने वजीर आजम भी बना सकता, इलेक्शन ते खिलार सकता।
Pakistan is a country desperately in search of a hero. Alienated from its politicians, the people are expecting a great deal from Imran Khan. Where others have failed, can he turn the desert into water?
I feel that things have got so bad that it's going to bring a reaction in this country. People themselves must want to change. They've been too complacent and too long. They've accepted every sort of injustice imposed upon them by unrepresentative governments. They've accepted everything lying down. And I think the people must want to change in this country, and that is the only hope. And if the people want change, and the governments that come in represent the people, I think then this country will become very dynamic. Because 120 million people is a huge population. And if someone can mobilize these people in a positive way, we have everything here. It's just that it's so badly managed at the moment.
Benazir Bhutto returned to Lahore from her London exile in 1986 and took on the generals. The size and scale of her welcome shook the military regime. Expectations ran very high.
The stability of Pakistan is important for the stability of the region and for global stability. Because today Pakistan is the frontline state in the fight against narcotics, in the fight against terrorism, in the fight against extremism. Pakistan is also a voice of moderation in the entire Muslim world. It's an example of democratic change as opposed to revolutionary change within the Muslim world. And I think Pakistan ought to be respected for what it represents in the Muslim world and in this region.
A few hundred miles from the capital, Islamabad, lies the valley of Swat. In the past, its inhabitants have been the most docile in the country. In October 1994, militant Muslims, led by an Islamic fundamentalist political party and supported by the Afghan Mujahideen, who had settled in the area, launched an armed insurrection. Their aim was to impose a rigid Islamic regime. The main town, Saidu Sharif, was the scene of fierce fighting before the rebellion was ended. Peace has now been restored, but tensions remain high.
The reason was that the people there wanted Islamic law. And as a result, when the government tried to put down the rebellion, there were a lot of people killed. We don't know how many people died on the side of this movement, but there were at least 11 soldiers killed, and there was a member of parliament killed. A fair amount of bloodshed.
I was in France and I got this news that Swat city has been taken over, its airport has been taken over, and its police stations have been taken over. Its parliamentarian, elected representative belonging to our party, has been killed. Of course, I ordered that the paramilitary forces should go in, and it was quelled. But when I came back, I put a simple question to our people. I said, where did they come from? And I found out that they were mostly Afghans, and they had come from the so-called religious schools. They were all veterans of the Afghan war, and they had swarmed up to take Swat, thinking that with it the government will go. So what they're doing is not really Islamic at all. But Islam for them is not a religion in which you submit before the will of Allah. Islam for them has become a weapon in the political struggle for power. It's a power struggle.
At religious schools in Swat and elsewhere, children are taught to recite the Holy Quran in Arabic, a language none of them understands. For the poor, sending a son to such a school carries a double bonus. The family does not have to feed or clothe him, and they believe they're blessed by God for giving up their son to spread the teachings of the Holy Prophet. Maulana Fazl Haq, a leader of the religious insurrection, is quite open regarding his aims.
मेरे ख्याल में बल्कि हमारे ये मुतालब है अगर इस मरकज़ में कामिल निज़ाम इस्लाम आया जो अब आए इस पर हम मुतमईन नहीं हैं मुकम्मल शरीयत अव्वल से आखिर तक मुकम्मल आ जाए इंशाल्लाह खुद मजबूर होकर हुकूमत से मांगेंगे निफाई शरीयत और लोग हुकूमत भी मजबूर होकर दिल उनका ख्वाह या चाहे या न चाहे इस्लामी निज़ाम लाए.
I have no doubt that Benazir Bhutto came to power with all good intentions. I felt that she wanted to do good in this country. But I think the way she's gone about surrounding herself with people who are incompetent, and I doubt their integrity very much. And as a result, I think that she has had to rely on rhetoric. She hasn't achieved much. In fact, Pakistan is rapidly going downhill. And I don't think that with the team she's got, whether she's capable of correcting the situation.
The law courts in Swat are in a state of total confusion. Until now, the judicial system has been based on the legacy of the British colonial administration with a veneer of Pakistani amendments.
In the tribal area, people see justice and cheap justice. Surely Pakistan must decide what sort of law to follow. They must clarify what are the best things to take from the British justice. And at the same time, how do they want to impose the Sharia law?
As a temporary measure, qazis, or Islamic judges, have been appointed, but the two systems of law together make for very slow progress.
Surely it has to be Islamic scholars who sit down with judges and they come up to some sort of an understanding. Pakistan must decide what sort of law to follow. Justice is for sale in this country. Poor man does not have access to it. So he is going to find the obvious expression in Islam.
The debate is not new. During General Zia's dictatorship, Islamic law led to Islamic sentences. Muslim divines debated the merits of individual punishments. Should the fingers of a thief be cut off, or should it be his whole hand? Mullahs lined up to demonstrate how a hand without fingers could still steal food. There was no debate about when and how a felon should be hanged or flogged.
People have seen the inability of successive governments since 1988 to deliver either in terms of a better standard of living or social services or all the other indicators which normally go into an assessment of the quality of life. And I think there is a growing frustration and a growing disillusionment with the ability, and I think this is the most important point, with the ability of the ruling elite, whether on this side or that side of the political divide, to really deliver what would be solutions to the people's problems.
I think that if proper Islam is taught, it will cause a revolution against this power elite, which has been like a leech on this country ever since it gained independence. I was not equipped with enough Islamic knowledge to fight the Muslim stereotype in the minds of the Western people. Like women are slaves in Islam, and the concept of terrorism, that Muslims were terrorists, and they were ignorant and backward, and to be progressive, the Muslim had to be Western. And so I found that unless and until I knew enough about Islam, I could not answer my critics or critics of Islam. So then started the study of Islam, which hasn't stopped, and which probably was the greatest enlightenment for me. My interest in Islam was very gradual. You can't say it was suddenly something happened and I snapped. It was a gradual change which was over a period of time, and series of factors helped in that change. At the same time, made me aware more and more of my culture. Ever since I can remember praying with my father on Eid days, it was always in Badshai Mosque. My father always used to take me there, and I remember huge crowds, fascinated by so many people. It was my earliest memories of praying. My awareness of Islam was always there because my mother was very strongly Islamic. My father was a believing Muslim, practicing Muslim. So it wasn't as if at home there wasn't that influence. My conditioning by the society was different because the school, and then in England, at university, all these influences reacted against Islam. And all of them pointed to one thing, that Islam, like my culture, was backward. To be progressive, you had to leave these behind. And so it was just an Islamic identity I had. And I actually never understood the philosophy of Islam. For me, Islam was an identity, and it was something to pay lip service to, but one didn't believe in it. There is a very clear difference between fundamentalism and fanaticism. I feel that I should be proud to be a fundamentalist. After all, the fundamentals of Islam, all they mean is that you, by being accountable to God, you become a better human being. But I assume the way they are portraying me is a fanatic. And I feel that that is a misconception in the West, that anyone who prays is a fanatic. As long as you do not behave like a Muslim, or only Muslim in name, you're a moderate. The moment you sort of pray and fast, you become a fundamentalist. I mean, I assume that's what it means, because no one knows what my views are.
Because Imran had begun to take on a public role, inevitably his life is now open to scrutiny. So the controversy over the marriage is related to the stance that he had been taking recently, whereby he was promoting an attitude which sought to identify more and more with our own religion, our culture, even our dress, our sense of identity, and not to be aping the West and trying to become what he called brown Sahabs. Now, in the light of those assertions of his, people are going to measure his decision to marry Jemima against the stance that he had been taking in the country.
Having called me a fundamentalist or a fanatic, you know, I mean, a fundamentalist or fanatic is not expected to marry a Western girl. So then they started calling me a hypocrite, but it's an image that they portrayed of me. I mean, and then the other, of course, is they kept my imminent entry into politics has been going on for 5 months. And suddenly, is someone who's going into politics, how is he going to take a step which was perceived to be unpopular in Pakistan? So therefore, after insisting that I was coming into politics and that I was a fundamentalist, then suddenly when this marriage took place, this called me a hypocrite.
Pakistan has always been a land of two religions, Islam and cricket.
I believe Allah gives us potential, and then He leaves it to us how much hard work we are prepared to put in to achieve that potential. And I feel that He gave me the potential in cricket, and perhaps if I had gone into other sports, I would still have that potential. But it was up to me to achieve that potential through hard work and dedication.
That's up in the air, he's getting under it. This could be victory, it is! Pakistan win the World Cup. A magnificent performance in front of 87,000 people. Imran Khan has led his side to victory. What a great victory.
Imran Khan, his 5th World Cup, his 5th attempt to win the trophy, and he's finally done it. And even the great Imran allows himself a smile there.
Imran and your team, I offer congratulations on behalf of the world of cricket, and I'd like you to come up here and I present you with the Benson Hedges Prize. Benson Hedges Prize of $50,000. And one more thing. Here, this magnificent Waterford crystal trophy. You mustn't drop it. Thank you very much. I would just like to say, I want to give my commiserations to the English team. But I want them to know that by winning this World Cup, personally, it means that one of my greatest obsessions in life, which is to build a cancer hospital, I'm sure that this World Cup will go a long way towards completion of this obsession.
That speech was embarrassing. The hospital was so much on my mind. I mean, it was the only thing that mattered to me at that stage, because I realized that had we not won the World Cup, it would have been impossible to build the hospital. I needed that win, and I was only playing for the hospital. So the release of those emotions was so overwhelming that for once, you know, I just didn't know what to say. And it was just something, muddled opinions that came through.
Pakistan, that's all from down here. Hope you're now enjoying the fireworks.
Imran's dedication of Pakistan's cricketing triumph to his hospital appeal was resented by the rest of the team. Some mistakenly believed that their prize money would be diverted to the hospital instead.
The last 2 years of my cricketing career were for the hospital. So I felt that now, you know, our aims were different. The team wanted money and I wanted the hospital. So I moved in a different direction.
The largest government medical centre in Lahore, Mayo Hospital. Long on queues, short on facilities and treatment.
My mother was in her last stages of cancer, and I was running around various hospitals in Lahore trying to just get her painkillers because we knew she was dying. It was just a question of letting her go in comfort. And it's then that I became aware that in Pakistan we don't even have basic cancer painkillers. Forget about cancer treatment. Doctors didn't know anything how to take care of someone who's terminally ill. And I became aware for the first time in my life what a poor person goes through. If I, with influence and money, could not help my mother, what happens to the poor man? And that is the basis of the hospital. It was the idea that I wanted to set up an institution for the poor people. Because the rich people can go outside Pakistan for treatment, as I did take my mother out for treatment. But it's the poor man who, you know, who has no help. The whole family is destroyed. They end up selling things. They run around from pillar to post. And not only does the patient die, but the family along with it is ruined by the end of the person's death.
अस्पताल तो इमरान खान ने इन्ना पैसा लगाया चाहे चंदा उन्हें इकट्ठा किया चाहे उन्हें जो कुछ भी किया एक मुल्क की इज्जत की खातर किया अज तक साढ़े इन्ने सरमायादार है ने किन्नू इन्नी कशॉलिटी हुई किन्ने को सानू हुई
A few miles from the city centre stands the hospital, named Shokat Khanum, in memory of Imran's mother.
In cricket, I felt when I look back at my career, I was a successful player, and especially as a captain, I was successful. And I felt that the difference between me and other players was that I never ever entered a match thinking about losing, thinking about failure. I mean, no matter how tough the opposition, I always imagined winning. And I think it's the same principle that was applied to the hospital. But you know, it was this optimism I had, and this is born from idealism, which is born from faith. WIlkinson.
ये कैंसर का मरीज है जी
बात है
कौन है
बोल नहीं अच्छा कोई नहीं ध्यान रखें कोई नहीं चलो मुझे तो तरस आता है देखा ही नहीं जाता इनकी तरफ
हमारी
What makes this particular hospital different from others, such as Mayo, is that here, so they claim, the poor are able to be treated completely free of charge on a first-come, first-served basis. This has not happened in Pakistan before. Even though building work is still in progress, many departments have opened so that patients are already admitted for diagnosis and treatment. The latest scanning equipment is imported from the United States and Europe. The intention is that once these facilities become operational, the revenue they generate will help to subsidize those patients who cannot afford treatment.
So the patient and the ray comes from here?
Comes out from here, yeah. Radiation.
And this is, of course, the walls are quite thick, 7 feet thick, I'm told. It's to prevent, huh?
At least.
To prevent radiation leakage.
Prevent.
Okay.
And what is the average duration for treatment for a single dose?
Normally 5 minutes, 6 minutes. It depends on the fields, how many fields we are giving to the patient.
That's right.
How much it cost?
Depending on what options you have on the machine, can cost from $1 to $2 million.
That's pretty good.
सुनिया तो है कि कैंसर अस्पताल खोलिया मैं गरीबों वास्ते ये करांगा गरीबों वास्ते वो करांगा हुण कोई गरीब नूं कैंसर होएगा अखबारां च आएगा पता लगेगा कि की कर रहे हैं क्योंकि कोई थोड़ी जी गरीबों वास्ते भलाई कर देंदे ते झट अखबारां च सुर्खियां ना छप जांदा ते अमीरां दा तो कोई हाल ही नहीं
गरीब नूं तो
ਇਹ ਵੀ ਜ਼ੈਦ ਬਿਨ ਸੁਲਤਾਨ ਹਸਪਤਾਲ ਬਣਿਆ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਐਨ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਗਰੀਬਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਬਣ ਰਿਹਾ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਤੇ ਕਦਮ ਰੱਖਣ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਪੈਸੇ ਲੈ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਇਹੀ ਹਾਲ ਇਹਦਾ ਵੀ ਇਮਰਾਨ ਖਾਨ ਦੇ ਹਸਪਤਾਲ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਹੋਏਗਾ
Initially, the government of Punjab gave us the 20 acres of land, which was very useful. And then when Nawaz Sharif was the Prime Minister, he gave us an initial grant of $250,000. After that, somehow the assistance dwindled, and we actually had problems even in getting administrative things done by various governments. But the current government, the People's Party's government, instead of helping us, it actually put obstacles in the way. And in fact, the last few months have been very tough. And in order to get these funds, we have to get on television.
मरीजों का बाकायदा इलाज शुरू हो चुका है.
It was basically a commercial to show the hospital, to show the facilities we had brought in, that they were latest, that what it was supposed to do was treat the poor patients, and what the people had given, where the money went. In Islam, we have a very good concept of zakat. It's a compulsory Islamic tax to give to the poor people 2.5% of your wealth.
Habib Bank, United Bank, Muslim Commercial Bank, National Bank, Allied Bank, First Women Bank, Askari Commercial Bank.
If we don't go on television and show the hospital, there's no way we can collect any money from the public. And of course, the government has banned me coming on television or the hospital or anything to do with cancer. Anything we do, even an awareness campaign has been banned on television.
Could the Ministry of Information really have perceived that a cancer hospital built by a cricketing hero might be a political threat? Could they really have been so foolish? The Prime Minister denies this charge.
I've got a letter from him praising me for the assistance that we have given the hospital. And not only my government, but even previous governments have donated money and land. So everybody has been very supportive of the hospital because it was meant for the treatment of cancer. And our government is supportive of all such initiatives in the private sector.
I don't know how much Benazir Bhutto knows about this project. I don't know what she's been fed by her sycophants. But there is no doubt that her government is responsible for a lot of damage to our hospital. Ijaz sahab, aapka bahut shukriya. मैं सबसे पहले तो आप सबको बहुत खुशामदीद देता हूँ यहाँ आने की और आपको जो भी बच्चों का इलाज हो रहा है मुझे ये खुशी है कि ये हॉस्पिटल खुल गया और आपको मौका मिला अपना बच्चों का सही तरह इलाज करवाने का क्योंकि आपकी दुआओं की बहुत ज़रूरत है बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आपका
A party to celebrate the Muslim festival of Eid. Most of these children had been told that there was no cure. Some even had been left to die.
Shaista.
शाबाश शाइस्ता शाबाश हिम्मत नहीं हारनी है हिम्मत बिल्कुल नहीं हारनी
शुक्रिया
नहीं नहीं शाबाश नुसरत नुसरत अच्छा अच्छा
He's wonderful. He carries her everything.
इधरली साइड से ले आओ इधरली साइड इधर मुंह करो बाहर से बोतल नहीं
शाबाश शाबाश
मेरी बेटी बहुत
इधर आ जाओ उत्ते आके तुसी करो और पंजाबी च करना बेटा उत्ते खड़े हो
मैं जी तहसील दीपालपुर दा अपने जज्बे से इस स्टेज पर आया मैंने किसी ने नहीं कहा ते डॉक्टर ही थे मैं उन्हें गिला तो नहीं करना चाहता लेकिन मैनू भी ये सोचना चाहिए मैनू कहने लगे कि सुरंज नहीं हैगी इस म्यू अस्पताल की आज से 15 साल के पहले की बात है इस जगह पर मैं आया हूँ, डॉक्टर जी से मत्थे लगती है तो साड़ी आधी बीमारी कटी जाती, ऐसा खुशखुलक जो डॉक्टर हैं वो खान साहब से ज्यादा वादू हैं खुशखुल्की में। नई दुश्मनी जब मिलती है बाईमान, में कहता हूँ कहीं आंधा जिस तरह कोई फरिश्ता नहीं होता, हंसते ही आंधे। वो डॉक्टर मैंने आगे भी और इनकी उम्र दराज करे और इनको कामयाबी अता करे।
Despite problems in fundraising and during the construction process, the hospital is almost fully operational. Imran's reputation as someone who delivers his promises is firmly established in the public's awareness.
It's really at the tail end of my cricketing career that I started studying. The subject which at the moment has set my mind on fire is, of course, Islam. One of the names of God is Al-Haq, the truth. When you stand up for truth, anyone who opposes you actually opposes God, because God is truth.
In November and December 1994, Imran set off on an arduous money-raising tour on behalf of the hospital. In 45 days, his team visited dozens of cities throughout Pakistan.
We saw some amazing scenes during a fundraising campaign. There was a ride to put money in the box. When women came, the whole crowd would part, and then everyone would give them an ovation. And then children who were very poor, who would be begging money normally in the streets. When people at times threw money from the windows, these children would dive to collect this money and triumphantly they'd bring that 5 rupee note and put it in the box themselves. But it was very tough because, you know, we used to sleep about 5-6 hours in 24 hours, but very tough because it was go from morning till evening, non-stop. And traveling as well. I didn't expect it to go as it did, and it was because of this that politicians got a little scared. Actually, the greatest reaction was amongst the students. I mean, especially the girl colleges. They were incredible the way they reacted. They collected the greatest amount of money in the institutions, the girl colleges.
The tour, organized by student supporters, culminated in a concert with performances from celebrities at the Fortress Stadium in Lahore.
These were incredible scenes for us. I mean, I was so deeply touched by this. And yet, during the fundraising, people's wallets would be stolen. But never was 1 rupee lost, which was given to the hospital. Everyone thought I was about to make a big announcement. It almost was as if I was supposed to announce my political agenda that day. The head of PASPAN, Muhammad Ali Durrani, he helped us organize the actual fund collection, the security, because we didn't want the police, because people get upset when they see police around us. So he helped us with the security, controlling the crowds, which I mean, how could our office have any experience with that? So, you know, I'm more than thankful to him.
The student supporters largely belong to PASBAN, a youth group which split from its parent organization, the fundamentalist political party Jamaat-e-Islami. Its leader, Muhammad Ali Durrani, now prefers to work outside party politics.
We are the trendsetters, and irrespective of party affiliations. In Pakistan, parties are not getting people together. Rather, they are dividing them into the groups. They are trying to make them fight with one another. On the other hand, we are trying to make people, to get people together on the self-help basis, on the very grassroots level, and through this process, we see a bigger change.
This simple-minded optimism, which fuels Imran's own politics, is challenged by the Women's Action Forum in Lahore.
He's a front man.
Well, I think the fact also that he is riding on the shoulders of the Pasban, which is very clearly identified with the Jamaat-e-Islami, which is the one religious party which I think has damaged the women's cause and the women's movement. And I think for them also this is an opportunity where they're propping up Imran, and he's using that philosophy of being humanitarian, of having opened a hospital, and yet at the same time, because he's a hero, I would agree that it is a very dangerous trend.
A lot of our friends in school, they think he's a very good person, but they don't seem to understand that other statements he's making about women's rights and stuff, and should stay at home, married women stay at home. There's going to be a very big threat if he comes to power.
What is in fact sinister is that he's coming as this type of populist, as opposed to the military, which came with its military garb, with an illegal system, an anti-constitutional system. And he is hoping that, that it will come through a populist way. And I'm again agreeing with you that it's actually the forces behind him that is the more dangerous thing.
Now we've got this, facade of a democratic state. He comes in through popularly elected, through the vote and whatever, and it's just very difficult to fight it.
Despite him saying that I have now seen the light, I'm a Sufi, I now don't think of myself only, I think of the public good, I think of everybody. We all remember a few years ago how when he won the World Cup, in fact, he said, I have won it.
Yes.
He
Not
also,
a word about the team.
which was interesting, even while he's saying, I no longer think of myself.
I mean, he's such a dangerous mixture of conceit and arrogance.
He is somebody who can be manipulated precisely because you said that there is something very egotistical about him. And he does believe that he can change, not Pakistan, but the world.
No, he's a very weird man.
Everyone feels that I'm being used by these very powerful right-wing groups. Now, in the beginning I was confused, but then I realized why this is so current in Pakistan. Because you see, when you see all our politicians, they actually never came on their own steam. They always were put there by someone else. They did not initially start off some achievement or grassroots support.
ਬਾਅਦ ਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਆਮ ਜੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਜੰਨੇ ਦਰਵਾਜ਼ਾ ਖੜਕਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਹਿ ਦਿਓ ਘਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਸਿਆਸਤਦਾਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਤੇ ਚੁੱਲ੍ਹੇ 'ਚ ਬੰਨੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਮਝਦੇ ਹੁਣ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਆਪਣਾ ਢਿੱਡ ਭਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤਾਂ ਪੂਰੀਆਂ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫੁੱਦੂ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਹੋਰ ਕਿਉਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ
Whole nation of Pakistan, they have a liking for Imran Khan, and we helped Imran Khan in his fundraising campaign, and now he's planning for education campaign, and we think that this educational campaign is the requirement of this country, and Pasban will again will be with him on his campaign for education, and not Pasban only, whole nation will support him in his educational program, because they think that whatever he says, he is committed to his statement, and he will fulfill his promises to the common man, to the nation.
A typical village school is just the place to begin.
और जिस वक्त अल्लाह का नाम लिया जाता है तो उस गाँव में बरकत होती है, तो यकीनन कामयाबी हमारे कदम आप कोई काम शुरू करें इस मुबारक नाम से आप अल्लाह के नाम की.
Here too, the day begins with verses from the Quran in Arabic and taught by rote.
I will always be associated with the hospital, but what I want to do is to move into the field of education now. And I think that the biggest crisis coming in Pakistan in a few years will be our education system, which has collapsed. But worse, the falling literacy rate in Pakistan. So I'm just about to evolve a system, a plan, a mass plan in Pakistan where on a self-help basis we can start a literacy campaign. Every village, every town will have someone qualified to be a primary school teacher. The idea is that they themselves will provide the person. We will provide the organization. If they need extra money, we will raise the money for them. But the town or the village must get involved in a self-help basis, which gives them pride and self-esteem, which ensures that they will want to make it a success. The Pakistanis got together and built a hospital, and I feel that that's how we must attack the education problem too. English should be taught everywhere. English and Urdu should be taught to all students in Pakistan, whether they come from the upper strata of the society or from the masses. Why should the masses be deprived of the English language as a means of education, as a means of acquiring higher education? Because at the moment, the masses are deprived of the English language and cannot therefore compete in higher education. And I feel that English should be taught as a language, as a way of learning, as a way of learning knowledge, but not, people should not try and become English.
Founders Day at Aitchison College, Lahore. An elite institution, it was formerly known as Chiefs College. The message was clear. The sons of the feudal lords were provided with an education, tea and cucumber sandwiches on the lawn, whereas the ordinary Indians,
Ladies and gentlemen, it appears I'm the only one...
Nobody really cared.
Please clap. That other end of the enclosure. Gentlemen, don't go to sleep. Please clap. Thank you. In the respective enclosures. Well done.
To this day, the country's ruling class is educated here. The current president, Tariq Ali, and the foreign minister, as well as Imran himself, are old Aitchisonians.
In Aitchison, I was very privileged to have good education. But that education made me into an English public school boy rather than a Pakistani. I wasn't given a sense of my own history. The history I read about even India was history written by the English about India, their viewpoint, not by Indians themselves. Why is a small elite being given one education which enables them to get all the best jobs in the country? And why are the rest of the people deprived of that education? Whatever the syllabus is, it should be one syllabus. So everyone should be taught English and Urdu. And at the same time, they should be given proper scientific education because, we have no education in science and technology. And also then we should be taught about Islam. You see, what is happening is that the elite is not taught Islam. The masses are taught Islam, but perhaps not the progressive Islam, and the elite is not taught Islam at all.
Imran is now the subject of even more speculation in the tea houses of Lahore.
Imran Khan के बारे में मेरे एक सवाल था कि क्यों ऐसा मतलब पॉपुलर हुआ जिस तरह साढ़े लोग इन्ने इंडिफरेंट हुए और इंडिफरेंट होने के प्रोसेस के विच लोगों च खास तरह का गुस्सा आता है खास तरह का मतलब जो रिबेलियन होता है और वो फिर इंडिविजुअल का शिकार होंगे और हीरो भी बाहर जो है ना एक इंडिविजुअल कैपेसिटी है ना
इमरान खान एक ऐसा बंदा है जिसका पोलिटिकल प्रोसेस कोई शेयर नहीं
कोई हिस्सा
इमरान खान एक ऐसा बंदा है जिहड़ा
अपना साड़ी ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਲਚਰਲ ਟ੍ਰੈਡੀਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਮਦਨ ਪੈਦਾ ਤੇ ਉਸ ਕਲਚਰਲ ਟ੍ਰੈਡੀਸ਼ਨ ਹੀ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਲੇਕਿਨ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾਤਰ ਯੂਰਪ ਵਿੱਚ
ਵਸੀਮ ਅਕਰਮ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਸਾਡਾ ਉਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੀਰੋ ਨਾ ਬਣ ਸਕੇ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੋਲ ਸਕਦਾ ਉਹ ਇੰਨਾ ਅਰਸਾ ਯੂਰਪ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਿਹਾ ਖਾਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਕਿ ਯੂਰਪ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਦੀ ਵਜ੍ਹਾ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਉੱਥੇ ਮਤਲਬ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਰੰਗ ਸ਼ਕਲ ਸੂਰਤ ਵੀ ਤੋਂ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ਾਂ ਵਾਲੀ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਹੈ ਰਹਿ ਕੇ ਕੁਝ ਜੈਨੇਟਿਕ ਚੇਂਜਸ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਆ ਗਈਆਂ ਨੇ
ਨਹੀਂ ਲੇਕਿਨ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਫੋਰਿੰਗ ਮਿਲੀ ਹੈ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਦੀ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਵਜ੍ਹਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਲੋਕ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਸ਼ੀਅਨਸ ਤੋਂ ਮਾਯੂਸ ਹੁੰਦੇ
My idea was not really to ever go into active politics or to go into parliament because I keep thinking it would just curtail my potential in this country. I feel remaining outside I'm a bigger force by standing for elections and in this system which is completely corrupt, spending huge amounts of money and in a system where you cannot do much anywhere, why would I want to go into politics? What would it give me?
Back in Islamabad, the Prime Minister seems unconcerned.
Well, it would be rather nice because he'd divide the rightist vote. But I believe he's not planning to do so.
Well, I actually don't understand about right or left-wing politics in Pakistan. I mean, does Benazir seriously believe that she belongs to the left? When she promotes capitalism, she's completely, does whatever Americans ask her to do. How can she call herself left? And the difference, her policies are no different to the previous government. They're exactly the same. So what is this right-left politics? It's just an eyewash. And for me, why would she put me in the right wing? Because I only believe in one politics, and that's of right and wrong.
He has been a cricketing hero. He emerged after his retirement from cricket as a man dedicated to social causes, most prominent of which was the cancer hospital that he has set up, which is no mean achievement. His desire to intervene in promoting and helping the education process, literacy process in this country, project that he is now embarking on according to reports. He's a man considered clean in a milieu where politics has become almost synonymous with corruption and self-aggrandizement. And so therefore when he went out on his fundraising campaigns, he did evoke a response from people. And in a sense that response was also a reflection of the frustration of people with the existing political process. They began to see in him some sort of a hero or messiah.
So far, his public has remained loyal, but will Imran's marriage now clash with the expectations of his supporters?
This marriage is not going to affect anything. I'm hoping that my wife will help me. I hope that Jemima will help me in my work, and I know that that's what she wants to do. So there is no clash. I mean, you'd be amazed that, and I was very pleasantly surprised that for someone of her age to insist, tell her mother that anyone who wants to give her presents, she doesn't want any presents, she wants donations to the hospital.
Imran may genuinely wish to stay aloof from parliamentary politics, just as he once genuinely wished to marry a Pakistani woman. However, if the country was once again engulfed in a political crisis, the army and civil service may well prefer to stay in the background. But they would need a figurehead, someone with a clean reputation.